growing.
So we said in the end there, how is it that adding 3 cities of refuge in the days of Mashiach is going to be a symbol of Mashiach's times? Why is it not, in fact, a contradiction? Mashiach's going to come. Seemingly, we're not going to need any more cities of refuge. Certainly not 3 more, right? So, why is the mitzvah of making a city of refuge? This actually holds the key to Mashiach, right? You're with me on this conflict. So we wound up saying that the city of refuge is really not just the city of refuge. It's basically this whole symbolic. In other words, besides just being a city of refuge in actuality, there's a city that you can go. If you kill a person by accident, you can go flee there and it will save you from the pursuer of the blood. It also has a very long-standing history on earth here, starting from the fact that when Adam first killed everyone in the world by sinning and therefore bringing death into the world, he fled into outside of the Garden of Eden, and Hashem said that was going to be like a city of refuge for him. So the whole concept of city of refuge is basically a reparation for all sin. And then we went further and said that every sin is compared to murdering someone by accident, because basically your godly soul is, so to speak, having its blood spilled by your animal soul. And therefore, the fixing of every sin requires a city of refuge to mend it. And what is the city of refuge, therefore? It's called Torah. Because Torah says, Divrei Torah koltin. The Torah itself is a refuge. And when you go into the Torah, it mends you, i.e., it does like the birur, and refines you and puts back into place all that was damaged. So essentially, every sin is mended by the city of refuge, which ultimately is Torah. So having like sort of reframed the whole conversation of what is a city of refuge, that it's really Torah. So then we said that really in the future, when we're going to be adding 3 cities of refuge, and the question we had was that, hang on 1 second. Yeah. So before that, we went into this concept that, unlike what we thought before, frankly, because one of our big questions was, why are we going to need 3 cities of refuge added, and why do we even need the 6 original ones, when there's not going to be any more sin in the world, right? There's not going to be any more evil in the world. That was one of our original questions. Mashiach's going to come, there's going to be the removal of all evil. There's not going to be any need for cities of refuge, because there's not going to be any more evil, right? So then we changed that a little bit, actually. I don't know if everyone picked that up. We slipped in this idea that when Mashiach comes, it's not going to be like in Tchias HaMesim, in the resurrection of the dead, that there will be absolutely no more evil, and like it will be abolished from the earth. There will be evil, but it's going to be concentrated into one place, much like it was in the Garden of Eden when it was concentrated in the snake.
Oh yeah.
Right?
Does the evil is like plugged in, or the evil is kind of winding up?
I do not know what you mean by that at all.
Okay. So you have a fan, an example I guess, you put a fan, the fan's going around, it's plugged in, but if you unplug it, the juice is not in there, it's still going around, but kind of winding down. So this evil that's there, is it like evil that we're still like producing evil, or is it evil that we have to work out because of...
Well, it's just like the Garden of Eden, right? There's like a big, giant evil, and it's not mixed in with everything else in the world. In other words, it's not... At the whole point of like we said yesterday, when man was tempted by the snake, and he ate, like basically he wound up eating something he wasn't supposed to do, it forced him to sin. Once he sinned, the sin entered into his body, and then all the animals ate from the same tree, and it entered into the whole world. So everything in the world at that point became mixed in with good and evil. Whereas before that, the evil was in one place, and everything else in the world was purely good. So the whole process of creation, the whole process of existence, from that time until Mashiach comes, is refining the world and separating the bad from the good through Torah, which is the instructions for just that, right? It tells us how to refine the world. As we said, one of the great conversations that came out of this sikha is that the Torah plays 2 roles, right? One role the Torah plays is a practical guidebook for how to refine and separate good from evil. So that's the role that we've been working with up until now, until creation, and up until Mashiach comes, that we're basically putting the world back into a scenario like the Garden of Eden. The Torah can do that for us because it's going to remove evil from us, and like it won't be able to destroy it altogether. It would just sort of like leave it in its evil place, right? So I don't know about the fan or anything, but it's still going to be there. It's still going to be a danger, as it were, right? Because if the evil's in the world, it could always be tempting, right? It could have an effect on you. Yeah. So in comes the 3 extra cities. Right? That Torah in general, up until now, was a Torah of refinement, a Torah of separating good from evil, and that's why there was 6 cities of refuge, because we said the 6 cities of refuge represent Nigla of Torah, the revealed parts of Torah, which is basically based on the 6 orders of the Mishnah. Right? There's 6. The whole oral Torah is divided into 6 parts. And these 6 parts in general is called the Nigla, right? The revealed parts of Torah. What is Nigla? It's all about the aspect of Torah which is speaking about how to make the world a perfect place, versus Kabbalah, versus the secrets of the Torah of Mashiach, which is a Torah which discusses things which are completely beyond the world. It doesn't mix itself in with getting busy with fixing the world. It's on a higher order. So up until now, 6 cities of refuge were all we needed, because the whole Torah that we had, which was like a refuge for us, that when we'll fall, we'll go and the Torah will sort of help us refine ourselves, like a murderer by accident, who's any sinner basically. He goes to the city of refuge and it fixes him. It becomes a refuge for him, which basically sorts him out and makes him now impervious to the Redeemer of the blood, the one's trying to kill him, who's the Yetzer Hara. In the future, having completed the process of refining the world, so there's going to be still evil in the world, but we want to make it now that there's not going to be any possibility to make the same mistake that happened in the Garden of Eden. That it won't have its effect on us, and it won't cause us to trip and turn the world into a mess again. And so therefore Hashem is going to reveal the 3 new cities of refuge. So this, that you might say, well, why do you need more cities of refuge? No one's killing anybody anymore. We sort of separated the evil. It's in order to make what we said yesterday a preventative type of medicine. That the 3 cities of refuge actually represent also Torah, but as we've been saying, there's a new breed of Torah. There's the Torah of Mashiach, which is basically a Torah of Chabad, right? Because if we're going to say that the 6 orders of the Mishnah were representing Nigla, so you have Chochmah, Bina, and Das. Also we said that the 3 cities of refuge, where are they going to be put? Where are they going to be? They're going to be in the 3 lands, Kenizia and Kadmuni, which are the 3 lands in addition to the 7 lands of Canaan that we were intended to conquer during sort of Olam Hazeh, these days. There's going to be 3 more lands that were promised to Abraham, which are going to be corresponding to Chochmah, Bina, and Das, just like the 7 lands that Abraham's children conquered up until now were compared to the 7 Midos. And those 3 cities of refuge are going to be found in those 3 lands, which gives us a clear indication that they're Chochmah, Bina, and Das, which means it's a new breed of Torah, which is, okay, it's exciting that it's Chabad, because we're into Chabad, but this is what it is, right? It's a Torah of Mashiach, it equals Chabad. Maybe that's why the Rabbi called it Chabad. The Alter Rabbi called it the Pneumius Torah Chabad, because this is like the Torah of Mashiach. And the idea behind it is it's a realm of Torah that we can't even possibly fathom really right now. It's going to like change the whole way we understand reality on some intense level. And it's going to be an immense Giloi Elokus, an immense revelation of God is going to come from the fact that this Torah is there, and therefore it will prevent us from ever falling into the trap of the evil which is still currently found in the world. Because we're going to be in the presence of such divinity, it's going to prevent even the possibility of sin. So basically, it's like a city of refuge whose job it is to fend you off from sin. The only difference is a normal city of refuge, you sin and then you go there and it sort of purges you. This city of refuge is sort of standing there. Again, city of refuge is Torah. It's sort of standing there and revealing itself to the point that you don't even have to ever go into the city of refuge, because you'll never fall into your Yetzer Hara to begin with, because the power of this new Torah. So therefore, I don't know the therefore. That's it. Does everyone understand? Or let's ask some questions if you don't, because maybe it's just not clear. You following any of this?
Yes.
Yeah?
Did we mention yet the practice, like what's going to happen, or why there's still going to be bad stuff in the world? Like what the use of that is going to be?
Not the use yet. No, we're going to get to that maybe today a little bit. But the idea is just that up until such time as, in other words, in Gan Eden itself, when Adam he still had a job to do. It wasn't like, here's the world and have fun. He was given, well, more than that. It says he was placed, he placed him in the garden to work it and to protect it. And right away, Rashi says over there, or it says in Chassidus, I forget already, it says that this is the positive mitzvahs and the negative mitzvahs. So he actually was given the whole Torah also in the Garden of Eden, right? It's just that it all kind of came down to this one mitzvah that he had. But really, we see in Rambam, actually, he was commanded, Noach had 7 mitzvahs. It says very clearly, and we know what they were. Adam had 6 mitzvahs. Yeah. But nonetheless, even though Noach had 7, Adam had 6, they knew the whole Torah, and they were trying to keep it to be strict on themselves because they knew the Torah that would be given. So ultimately, the point from the whole thing is they had avoda to do there. And what was the avoda that they had to do there? It was the same avoda that we're going to have to do in the days of Mashiach, to remove the evil altogether and to get to the next point. So there's without evil, there's really no more avoda. So I guess there's your answer right there.
That's why the snake was necessary?
Yeah, there's no such thing as free choice, which is the whole purpose of creation, unless you have evil.
Right.
The only thing is, what's
Superman going to do without evil?
Exactly. So, you just be drinking martinis on the beach all day. I mean, that's no Superman.
Super.
No, so as we said that in the times of Tchias HaMesim, in fact, mitzvahs will be nullified. There will no more mitzvahs to do. Because there won't be that type of avoda of fixing the world, right? Because there's not going to be any evil. Therefore, there's not going to really be any more free choice in that sense. So there'll be some kind of a perpetual reward, ever increasing understanding of divinity. But since we're not going to be able to do anything, it's going to be like it's just a reward for the work that was done during creation, during the time when there was free choice. But nonetheless, once we get to this point of getting to the days of Mashiach, so there's this measures put in place, which is the 3 extra cities, which brings with it a brand new Torah, basically to keep us from even the possibility of evil from happening. Whereas again, the regular cities of refuge, when evil did happen, it was able to refine it, and that's like the Torah that we have in this world, the 6 orders of the Mishnah, that basically there's sin, but Torah is a refuge for it. So when you basically filter your broken self into the Torah, it fixes you and refines you. So that's the Torah that we've had up until now. It's been a Torah that, like an after-the-fact Torah, that there's sin in the world already, and so therefore you're required to go into the city of refuge to heal you from it. But in the future, we're going to already be free of sin internally, because the Torah is going to have worked its magic on us over the thousands of years of creation. So then there's the next stage of preventing even the possibility of sin coming into us again. That's indicated again by these 3 further cities, which is a new breed of Torah, the Torah Chadasha Me'iti Teitzei, the new Torah that will come out from Hashem in the days of Mashiach, and that's going to bring such a revelation of God into the world that it will prevent us even from falling to begin with.
So these cities don't acclimate with physical places.
They do actually. That's the thing is they're. No, there's actually it's happening again on several states of realities at the same time.
Right.
So while there are going to be 3 new lands and 3 new cities, the building of themselves is going to also initiate this new era.
Can you mention the 6 cities of today?
They're mentioned in the Chumash. I mean, I can show you where they are. I don't know them off by name. The 6 were commanded to Moshe to make them. 3 were on the other side of the Yarden before they came into Eretz Yisrael, which is also part of Eretz Yisrael, like the whole what's called presently Jordan. That's really also our land officially. And then there was 3 on this side of the Jordan River, and then there's 3 more lands that are south. I guess like Eilat and that whole area is probably part of it. Gaza was always part of Eretz Yisrael. But south of what used to be Eretz Yisrael, there's going to be 3 more. That was also originally part of Eretz Yisrael. There's going to be 3 more cities added, and those will be the cities of Avram's, of Lot's 2 children, which is Ammon and Moab, and Esav, Yaakov's brother Esav, he also was given a land. Those are the three lands that we're destined to inherit in the future.
So does that inhibit our ability to be able to acclimate the full 6 stages without the full 6 cities?
We have them. In other words, the fact that they've been taken into other people's hands, the Rebbe has...
They're no longer refuge for us then.
Well, I mean, the truth is that in terms of... We have in a certain sense, our ability to really contain godliness in this world is blocked from the fact that we do not have all the people in the land and the temple built and the Torah being kept. But we do have access to all these things spiritually nonetheless, right? So when we daven, for example, it's like a little miniature sacrifice, and when we learn the Torah of the 6 cities, so in a certain sense, the reason why the world is so broken right now is because all these divine implements are not in place to actually allow godliness to be seen. Nonetheless, there's a concept that the Rebbe speaks about often, is that Eretz Yisrael, once it was given to the Jewish people and once we lived in this land, unlike all other lands, it can't be conquered and called on another person's name. Unlike all other lands in the world, this is what makes the land of Eretz Yisrael different and unique spiritually, is that even though we could be kicked off our land for 2,000 years, you could have Turks and Romans and British and everybody else and their mother it's claiming this land is theirs, the land is never theirs. Right? Whereas it's not true regarding every other land in earth, even according to the Torah. Whoever conquers the land and lives there and plants their flag, it's theirs. But Bnei Yisrael were given this land by God. And so God took off the ownership of any other person from ever actually being able to cultivate it and own it and claim. Well, they can claim it, but they can't really truly claim it.
You can't possess it, really.
So therefore these cities are still in play. In other words, anyway, we don't have the laws of the city of refuge and someone who murders, who runs into the city. I don't think the Medinat Yisrael is going to let them off the hook. You know what I'm saying? It's not, anyway, it's defunct right now. But in principle, these lands are still sitting there doing their thing. In fact, we're in one of them right now. Tzfat is it's not one of the 6 cities of refuge, but there's actually 42 other Levitical cities that all Levitical cities serve also as a city of refuge, and this is one of them, according to all accounts and ancient tradition. Tzfat is one of the cities of refuge. Okay, so that being said, let's go on for today's class. That was a review. It's kind of a long one. Going into Os Yud Gimel.
What's the last line there?
Me'iti Teitzei. That's where the actual title of the whole Sikha. The new Torah will come out from me will come out. You good?
I'm good.
Yud
Do
Gimel.
it.
Al pi zeh yesh levayer gam hachidush b'yemos Mashiach halacha k'bei Shamai. So now, according to all this, we can also explain the Chiddush, the novel concept, that in the days of Mashiach, all laws will spill over and switch to being like Beis Shammai. Because if you recall, we also had 3 tough questions on this one. One was why, in the case of the Shechita of the Shur Habor, right? It's going to all... that's a case where in the future the halacha is going to be more lenient. Whereas all the cases of Shammai, he goes to chumrah, he goes to strictness. Whereas if law will change in the future, and our symbol of that is through the permitting of this shechita of the ox, so then why, which is a direction of going from prohibited to permissible, then why all the other indications of law changing in the future, which is that the halacha is going to switch from Hillel to Shammai, goes the other way, that everything becomes from permissible to strict. That was one question. The second question we had was, why are we going to need Bechlal all these new strict things in the future when there's not going to be any evil in the world, which we thought, basically, we kind of gave it away a little bit, there's not going to be any more evil in the world. Why are we going to have to prohibit ourselves from this, that, the other thing? There shouldn't be any problem of engaging in everything because the root of the spirit of impurity has been lifted from the earth. And the third question was the one time that they did go like Beis Shammai and they voted like him, they said it was as horrible of a day as the day that they worshipped the golden calf for Israel. So in other words, why is this considered like a messianic good future for us?
That's pretty bad.
Pretty bad. Okay, so now we can understand all those things. But first we must preface the arguments to understand the arguments between Shammai and Hillel in a deeper sense. Beis Shammai Ostrim, Beis Hillel Matirin, that in almost all cases Beis Shammai is prohibiting and Beis Hillel is permitting. Shapluk Tahi Benogei La'ofen Pulas HaTorah B'Bira Olam. And what are they really arguing about under the scene? What's like their spiritual argument behind all their legal debates is in the manner that of the effect of the Torah to refine the world, right? That basically, how can the Torah is it able to refine the world? Which again, we said that was the whole purpose of Torah up until Mashiach comes. It's an object of refinement on the world, the broken world from Adam Arishon. So it says, "B'devarim shehem bevadai bilti ratzoim." When it comes to things that are for sure bad, lakuli alma, right? According to everybody, these are just things that are evil. Habirur hu ba'ofen shel dechi, dechia, right? The refinement has to take place in such a way that you push it away. In other words, there's the idea of bringing close and pushing away. It's basically yes or no in all the laws of Torah. So everything, if everyone can agree that this thing is evil, so how do you refine it? You push it out of the system. You can't partake of it. You can't utilize it for kedusha, right? Something was just stolen. You can't build a sukkah out of it, right? You have to just leave it out of the whole holy family and leave it for the side of evil. Small doche. That's called the left hand pushes away. And that's what would lead us to say it's tameh, it's asur, it's pasul, right? That it's impure, it's prohibited, it's rejected, right? So, okay. But devarim shem bevadei mutari, when it comes, for example, things that everyone agrees are permissible. In other words, there's no evil in this object, and therefore I can use it. In yani reshus, permissible actions. L'kuli almi habiruhu ba'ofen shel kiruv. Therefore, both Shammai and Hillel hold. That's what means kuli alma, the whole world, which means Shamai and Hillel, they hold that the way you refine this is by bringing it close. Yamin mekareves, the right hand brings close, which means you rule it tahor, pure, mutter, permissible, and kosher.
What are those things?
Anything that everyone can clearly see that there's no evil in it.
Okay.
In other words, it's just a stam item in the world, which is not particularly coated with any evil. In fact, on the contrary, it's pure from real evil, but it doesn't mean it's holy, right? There's basically different levels, right? There's stama world, just like regular world where Hashem created the trees and the flowers, everything's fine. And then there's when the world corrupts itself, right? And so basically things get like, there's trees and flowers, but what if you pick them and they're not from your own garden? So the same tree and flower now becomes stolen, right? Or, for example, you have the idea of a tree and flower that grows in the first 3 years. It's orla, you can't eat it. So, in other words, the world itself is being created every second. Where we call it, klippas noga versus gimel klippas atameas, the regular stam world which is elevatable, versus a world which has been like contaminated, whether by man or by God, like a pig. Hashem just says this is something which is evil in it, and you can't elevate it for kedusha. Can't be used, at least by eating, right, in a mitzvah. So this is the thing. People that everyone agrees this just has to be rejected. You can't bring it into the Jewish family and elevate it to kedusha. They push away things that, and they say it's usur. Things that are just stam, they're just fine. There's nothing particularly wrong with them. Everybody agrees they're kosher, they're pure, which means you can eat them. When you eat them or whatever, you use them for business, whatever it is, you bring them into the realm of kedusha. Because when you do a mitzvah with them, they become holy. That's the whole idea of saying it's permissible. It means that it's allowed to be transformed into holiness. Nothing's holding it back from being transformed into holiness. In fact, that's what the word mutter and usur mean, as the Tanya explains. What does the word usur mean? Right, it means tied down. And what does mutter mean? It means untied. Right? So it's a strange term. In Judaism, something that's prohibited means it's tied down. Something which is permissible means it's untied. What is he talking about, untied, tied? It means there's certain energies which are bound into the realms of klippa and darkness, and there's certain energies which are untied from being stuck into these negative energies, and once they're untied, we can take them and bring them into the side of good by doing a mitzvah with them. It's not called stealing, but okay. So in this scenario, everyone agrees. Shammai and Hillel agree. If it's bad, you push it away. If it's permissible, if it's really okay, you can bring it close. You can elevate it. Al yidei hishtamshos behem l'shem Shamai. By using that, how do you bring it close? You use those objects for the sake of heaven. As it says, Kol ma'asecha yu l'shem Shamayim, right? Like a cup of coffee per se, it's going to wake you up and enable you to have a little energy for the class. It's not like mamish making a tefillin out of a cow, like you turn the object into mamish holiness, but in a certain sense, all permissible acts, you can use them in your avodas Hashem, and therefore it's not kosher. Coffee is kosher, right? Even in the Shulchan Aruch, you're allowed to drink coffee before davening. Drink to it. V'kol darkecha do'ehu, in all your ways you should know him. Why is it permissible? Because through using them for your human needs as a Jew, you can elevate them and refine them into the dimension of Kedusha. Now when God is streaming the life force into them to bring them into creation, He's bringing it into the purest, most highest form of existence because it's now holy. So it's like a divine object in the world because it was used by a Jew in Avodas Hashem. U'devarim she'es safek im tzrichim litchosam o shecholim u'mela tzrichim lekarvam la'alosam lekedusha. Now here comes the tricky part. Remember, we're trying to understand what is base Shamai and Hillel arguing about. So far, they're not arguing about anything. But when things that there's a suffix, there's a doubt, if this object needs to be pushed away, right? Because maybe there is evil in it, or they're able. And if it's able, automatically it's obligatory to bring it close. Why is it automatically obligatory if you're allowed to bring it close? Because you can't just leave the world unrefined. If something is, so to speak, edible, and you're allowed to, you're eating it will turn it into a mitzvah, you have to eat it. I mean, obviously, if you're going to be eating it and you're going to get sick from it, that's no mitzvah. And if it's going to make you unhealthy or something, that's not a mitzvah. But anything, and in fact, it's one of the questions that it says when you go to Gan Eden, they're going to ask you, did you eat all the things you were supposed to eat? Right? Because basically, by a Jew eating something, it becomes flesh and blood, you decompose it, becomes part of your body, and therefore it's like now, like it turned it into a Jew. So you've elevated the food, etc., into a Yid, and this is basically called elevating the world, refining the world. So basically, anything which is able, it therefore automatically is required to bring close and enter it into the Jewish family, as it were, and to elevate it into Kedusha. Yeah.
Bugs and stuff?
No.
Well, bugs, let's say, is everybody agrees that those are prohibited.
I know, but then you got like the 1 and 2 that are kosher.
Yeah, crickets.
Right, yeah, so you'd have to eat those, but we don't know what they are. So lucky for us.
I mean, with like the Yemenites.
What's that?
I mean, the Yemenites are
They have a tradition, but I don't think that we have their tradition. What's that? You've seen them eat that?
I mean, it wouldn't be a requirement for me to hang out with them.
No, I mean in general, we don't have this knowledge of which ones are kosher.
Those Yemenites.
Okay, but anyway, the point being is that I'll give you an example. It's a little bit of a racy example, but it does sort of prove the point, right? A Jew's not allowed to take interest, right? But from a goy, we have to take interest,
Of course.
right? And why? It seems like it's a cruel thing. Taking interest. Why are we doing? Because it's our brother. We don't want to take a bite out of him, It's not really that. That's not really why we don't take interest. It's because the whole concept of making money on your money, first of all, in principle, it's not such a crime. The reason why we're told so many times in the Torah don't take interest is because it's illogical. Actually, the whole world runs on taking money from lending your money out to somebody else. Okay, this is not considered like a crime in the eyes of the world, right? Banks, everybody, interest, right? It's like how the world runs. Why don't we do it? Because the secret reason of a Jew's life is to elevate all objects in the world. And since basically another Jew's money, he's going to use to elevate his objects in the world, so it doesn't make any sense for me to take his money and start elevating other objects in the world. He's doing it just fine. I don't need his money from my money. But a non-Jew, his purpose is to be elevated, so to speak, not to elevate. So if you take his money, it's anyway a normal, natural, healthy thing that he should pay for the fact that your money is going to be tied up in his hands, So the fact is, if it's possible, it's not prohibited upon us to use part of the world for God, then we have to. And therefore, it's actually a mitzvah. You're not allowed to lend money to a non-Jew and not take interest, because you'd be taking a natural opportunity to elevate some aspect of creation, and you're leaving it unelevated, which is your whole job is to, because you're going to use the money for kedusha and mitzvahs and bring it into, so to speak, the family of holiness. You can't just leave it unelevated. It's like a problem that you're having right there.
So by taking interest, you elevate.
By taking more of his money, so to speak, obviously in kosher and holy and upright ways, more money comes into the Jewish world, and that money is going to then be, we don't use our money for the same things. Our money we use for Shabbos, our money we use for mitzvahs. In a perfect world, Jews doing mitzvahs. We're using it to build the Beis HaMikdash, we're using it for tzedakah, we have mitzvahs. Right? The whole idea is that, just like our food is not regular food, we're just pretending to be humans, basically, right? And we go around, we eat, we work, but the secret job of a Jew is that we're going around elevating matter into mitzvah, right? Since we're the only ones that do that, we have to take every opportunity that we can to do it. That's why Yaakov is called Yaakov. His name means to trick. Yakveini ze pa'amayim. You tricked me. Why is Yaakov called a tricker? That's not like a nice name for us. Because we're sneaking through the world, pretending to be like them, with the same agenda. I'm going to be a president, I'm going to be this, when really that's not our agenda. We're here to do something else. And that's why we find like the traditional, metaphor that Yaakov wore the garments of Esav. Like literally he went in and pretended to be Esav. It was like this little Jew hanging out in these big garments of a non-Jew. Because this is like basically, at least in Gullus, this is what the whole concept is that we're sort of secretly having this other agenda to elevate reality into the realm of mitzvah. But on an external level, we look like everybody else. Yeah.
So from kind of a technical level, going back to the accumulated interest kind of perspective, what if the individual wasn't lending money kind of from his own pot, but he was a part of, let's call it like an institution, like a bank, and if he's charging 10 people 10%, then he has enough money left over to make the 11th loan to that person who wants to do something with it.
You're saying if it was like a Jewish...
Well, like as opposed to like one person who just like directly profits from it, from like one pool of money, where the interest could actually benefit like kind of further funds for another loan or something like that, someone who might need it.
No, so in a sense, it's like what you're saying is, is it possible to do a mitzvah by means of doing a sin or an avera, right? Because
right.
Does the ends justify the means, basically?
Well, it's like it wouldn't be his like if it's like if I just like lend money to you,
or even like a very altruistic mitzvah, by means of doing a sin.
Right.
So I'm kind of spelling it out for you. Like it's the means do not justify the ends, do not justify the means. Like I'm saying, can you steal something in order to make a sukkah, even if it's for somebody else, for some poor person who doesn't have a sukkah? Can you steal the wood and so forth? So no, you that's the thing, is we can't. It's, even though the end is great, we can't get to the end because you can't do a sin. But alternatively, the question is...
a bad guy to help a poor
right,
out?
Right.
That's the question?
It's Robin Hood. No, but anyway, again, on a technical level though, that's the reason why Jews are like lawyers and like so like involved in all these like little loopholes and details, because real loopholes are actually holy. In other words, anything that the Torah says you can do, so long as your intention is good, you can do. In other words, and if you want to actually get into a situation where you're needing to get involved in loans, you could go sit down with a rabbi and be like, all right, lay it out for me. I need to know everything that I can and can't do because I'm doing this for the right reasons. And you'll find there's many loopholes and areas. The Torah is not trying to be like sort of overly, broad stroked. There's many nuances to it, which all. But the point is, it has its own little realm of divine logic, what you can and what you cannot do. So that's
What if a Jewish person is not religious? So therefore, you don't know if they're going to use their money for a mitzvah.
So that's a bit of an issue. But the idea is, again, the very fact that they're taking the interest. Yeah. It is a mitzvah in its own right. In other words, that the fact that they brought the money into now what they're going to do with it, everyone always has free will. But unless there is a concept that God forbid that a Jew can get to such a state of wickedness that he's called like a mumar, like he's been sort of like a mumar, someone who's
That's a country up near.
Well, okay, it's someone who's like Esav had the din of a mumar, like someone who's like a known idol worshiper, like openly breaks Shabbos like with like fanfare. He like doesn't care in front of the whole world. So he gets he actually gets the din, the law legally of a non-Jew. So it's possible you can put yourself into such a situation where you like change your status. I mean, he's still Jewish, but he is legally. So I mean, but in a regular person, very few people are like. I don't think there's anyone like that these days. Where, maybe a few, but the idea is that again, it all goes through the legal channels. Can such a person take interest? You have to ask the experts.
Is there ever a scenario where it's okay to sin to do a great mitzvah? I'm sorry, because Mumar is a country.
He just said it. You can break shops. That's all right. Get on loopholes.
And to save a life.
I'm not sure about that.
You can break Shabbos to save a life. Okay, and the like. I mean, there are different types of scenarios. Obviously, there's a big Torah out there. All right, so let's get back into our track here. Okay, so what we're saying is, when does Shamai and Hillel? When is it? What are they really arguing about? They're arguing about a case of doubt. In other words, that does this thing have evil in it, in which case it has to be pushed away, or maybe it doesn't, in which case it has to be elevated into Kedusha. And what would give them this doubt? Mishum shahara eino nikar v'nira b'poel u'bagiloi. This is it. It's because the evil which is in it is there, but is not recognizable and seen in actuality. Ki im b'koach u'behelam bilvad. It's only a hidden theoretical evil. Right? Like, for example, the same cup of coffee, which a second ago we were saying, it's all good, you can, in the Shulchan Aruch it says you can do it. Theoretically, there's a hidden evil inside a cup of coffee. Which is what? I don't know, the caffeine, it could do this to your blood, it could do that to your sleep cycle. In other words, maybe it's not healthy for a Jew, maybe it's going to cause problems for you, right? But it's a hidden type of evil. Or take, for example, like a Coca-Cola. Maybe it's more obvious. Like now they're coming out that you can like mamash clean acid off, like rust off of cars with this stuff. So I mean, it's permissible. It's not like there's a pork in there. You can't drink a Coca-Cola. But it might, in fact, have some kind of a hidden evil inside. So in this hidden evil, which is not clearly seen, right? Shammai and Hillel, that's exactly what all their arguments come down to, right? This is what Shammai and Hillel argue about.
But in time, that hidden evil becomes what?
Let's say in how much time? In the times of Mashiach. That's what we're saying.
Yeah.
So we're saying Beis Shammai, Sheshorish Nishmasam Bechinas Hagavuros, where we said before the source of their soul comes from the side of Gevura, from the left side, from the side of restriction. Netiya Sichlam Hilahachmir. Therefore, automatically their natural inclination of their mind is to be strict, because they're able to see the hidden dangers.
So that's what
because basically they're deep, right? And they're anyway leading to be strict. So their first approach of something is, let's find out what's wrong with this thing. You find people like that, right? People who come from, it's good, it's not always good, right? It could be very bad. Like someone sitting next to you in shul, and instead of like coming and giving a big hug and a handshake and good Shabbos, all you can think is, let's find out what's wrong with this guy, right? So sometimes that's not good. It depends what it's used for, right? If you're like an FBI agent and you're an analyst and you need to find out who's responsible for the murder, it's good. It all depends. They're different midos, and they can be used for good or for bad, right? But the idea is that the source of Shammai comes from Gevura. So he's always going to be looking into the Torah of what's wrong with this thing. Can I find the hidden evil in it? That was his approach. And therefore, litchos la'asur, and to push it away and to make prohibited, even things where they're not obviously bad. Yet he was digging deep, and if he would find some possibility for bad, he would already say, usr.
Make sure you protect yourself.
That's right. Whereas Beis Hillel, and let me tell you, we go like Beis Hillel, Bizman Hazeh, thank God. No, because seriously, everything almost would have a hidden evil. You can find you can trace some deep course of it. Like Betzalel was saying, the Torah is already hard enough. You're going to make everything else, you're going to throw the book at me, like forget about it. Right? So Beis Hillel, on the other hand, the source of his soul was from the chasadim, from the side of chesed, expansion, love, permissibility, inviting, Netiyas sichlam hilahakel. Therefore, the leaning of their intellect was automatic to be lenient, to say, no, I don't see any problem here. I think this person's fine. I think that's fine. What's the wrong with it? Prove it to me. I don't see any evil here.
Oh, it's like innocent until proven guilty. Or guilty
Yes, exactly. They're saying innocent until proven guilty. Exactly, Shamai. Right?
No, Hillel.
Excuse me, Hillel. Thank you. Yeah.
So Shamai is basically, he's always searching for like the hidden evil, but Hillel's kind of just like, all right, this looks fine. Like, he's doing the right thing.
Yeah, he's always trying to find the revealed good. Hillel.
Oh, okay, so
right? He's looking, where can this thing be good?
So we're gonna be rolling with this when Mashiach comes.
The Karev, his Indian, we're gonna see why.
Yeah, but we'll be elevated.
Right. So Hillel is all about bringing close and making permissible, right? Untying the things that do not have any obvious evil, because he's saying, if I can elevate it, think about it, it's a totally, really beautiful thing. He's like, if I can elevate it, I'm going to elevate it. Give me Jimi Hendrix and the Grateful Dead, baby, because it's awesome, and why can't I bring that into the godly family? Who's saying not? Right? In other words, there's a certain level of like, why do you have to be such a frummer? Why do you have to make it such that like, I can't touch this world? All I want to do is use the world for God. And you're going to find something in there that I can't do it? Stop. Hillel's your man, basically. He's saying, listen, let's look for the good. Let's see if we can find some revealed good, so then we'll be able to elevate. He's not trying to be like overly lenient on a person. His thing is not to like sort of let you off the hook. He's looking for a way to elevate. And therefore he's like sort of turning a little bit of a blind eye, because he's such an interest in elevating. He's saying, if there's any chance of elevating this, let's do it. So you're talking about some evil. I don't see that evil. It's a theoretical evil. It's a hidden evil. Adarabba, it's not there. Let's go for it. Let's move forward.
With the race, like you were talking about in Gomorrah.
Here you go, man. Putting all the pieces together.
And we're going to be counterintuitive now with this.
All right, hold on. You're going to get it all. It's going to come clear here. Hachiluk zeh merumaz gam b'shmosehem. So he said, as the Rabbi always kind of brings this little piece in, it's so nice, just showing us that clear divinity of the Torah. He says the whole thing, this very distinction is actually in their names. You can see it in their names, because the name of everything in Torah is its very essence, which is why we tend to try and call people by their Hebrew name, etc., because it brings out their true self. So he says, Shamai comes from the word Hasam or Chosav, Sham, I don't know. In other words, it means to basically clearly measure your path, right? Like a Shamai, literally, in the sort of modern world, is someone you bring out to evaluate the value of something, right? An appraiser. So this is what he says. The person he's basically appraising all of his steps. Every second he's looking into it, and that's what the word Shamai means. Sheshokol derachav, he weighs his path. Betachlis azahirus, with the ultimate carefulness. Gam binyanim dera hanela, even when it comes to a theoretical evil, he's so careful and analyzing everything. V'kashamotzi sheyesh b'hem ra nelam, and when he finds that there is some evil inside, doche v'oserosam, right? He's saying, okay, he found it. In other words, he's an appraiser. What does an appraiser do? He looks through every single, room and tile and faucet, and he's looking at the details. Like you go by a house, you're all starry-eyed and ready to go. So you bring an appraiser. He's like, hold on a second. Look at this. 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 Right? That's literally his name, Shammai. So therefore, he's looking for the problems, and he makes it usher. Hillel comes from the word balu nero alei rosh. It comes from the word that it shines a candle on my head, right? Shu inyan shel or v'giloy. The word Hillel therefore means light. Hamshachas or hakadusha, which means Hillel's whole approach is he's looking to bring more holiness into the world. That's in other words, that's just his approach. Even in a place where it's maybe some hidden evil, he's like, you know what? We'll buy the house. Okay, there's some broken faucets, but we're going to make Shabbos in there. We're going to bring, holiness into there. He's like more looking towards how much godliness can I bring into this place. If you say it's prohibited, so you just great, good for you. You just sent it in the domain that you just determined you cannot bring godliness into that place. So that's for him. These are like two polar opposites. He like despises Shamai basically because he's removing layer after layer and place after place of the ability to bring godliness into the world.
It's a fixer-upper.
He's a fixer-upper.
Are these schools like totally independent and like like was there any collaboration?
Oh, totally. They're sitting there and having vigorous debates.
Because they could really benefit from each other.
No, but the thing is, what they can't do in Torah is come out with two rulings.
Right.
So they had to debate it out until they voted and they decided on one path. So what happened was they did that and it went like Hillel. The majority went like Hillel.
Was it always like this, or like was there a compromise available? Or
but there isn't really. It's like, is it Rabbi, can I drink it or can't I drink it?
Right.
So in that capacity, when it comes to compromise, we can understand, well, really you could because of this, and really you can't because of this, and maybe we can, but at the end of the day, can I drink it or can I not drink it? That's the whole thing about Torah. It comes down to mamish, yes or no.
It comes down to decisions.
Right? This is like the idea of the Mishnah versus the Gemara. The Mishnah says yes or no. The Gemara, you can float around for millions of years and debate, understand all the beautiful logic, but that's like in a realm of thought. The Mishnah is like in a realm of action. Like, let's decide, right or left. So when right or left, they debated for years, right and left, until they said, okay, are we going right or left? Thank you. Like, it's time to move. So they went right. But in the future, the whole idea is that we're going to go left. That's the idea. In the future, we're going to go like Shamai.
You don't like lefties?
Because they're already big out
Wow. Okay.
Well, we're going to see. It's a whole like analysis of this scenario. No one really delved into this topic as much as the Rabbi did in the Sikha, so it's kind of a novel concept. So going on one more couple lines. Yesh lahosif, we can add. Sha'achiluk bein Beis Shammai Beis Hillel gam b'dargas haTorah shal yedan nasa bira ba'olam. So we can add that really the difference between the two of them was also regarding the level of Torah through which they used to refine the world. And this kind of gets into it. That they were really operating from not only from different midos right and left, but from different levels up and down. Beis Shammai, Mechadrei Tefei, didn't we already say Beis Shammai was smarter than Beis Hillel? They were sharper. They were analysts, right? So when it came down to it, it's like the right brain, left brain. Like you could be all this creative guy. Like it's just like, dude, what are you doing? Like let's get down to details over here, Like let's look at the reality, right? So he says, "Darga Nailis Yosher believe in the Torah." They came from a totally different level, elevated level, when it came to learning Torah, right? Oh, hey there. B'koach. Did you stay here overnight? Oh, because I would have waken you up in the morning. I'm sorry, I didn't know where you slept. Ha b'koach shebetorah penimius haTorah. So basically, and we're going to have to unfortunately stop here, but just to get this one last kernel, what was Hillel looking for? He was basically looking for the potential. And in Torah, what does it mean, the potential? That which is not obviously revealed, which is called the secrets of the Torah. So since, just like he would look at like an object and try and find what was wrong with it, he would look at the Torah and try and find what was like secretly being said behind the scenes with it. In Shammai, so he probed much, much deeper because he was looking for the hidden underlying source of the matter. So that in Torah, that led him to mamish see the penimius of Torah, the koach of the Torah, as opposed to the revealed parts of the Torah. So he was basically paskening from a state of Kabbalah. In other words, he was paskening his halachic shailas from a state of seeing things how they were in a deeper penimius way. This is Shammai.
Also, even though
so that's why you'll find, by the way, that Hasidim, we have this kind of mishugas that we're extremely strict with ourselves about everything, right? Things which are permissible, like there's a famous quote in the Yom Yom, when they first came to Liozna to come and visit the Alter Rebbe, they had to spend a handful of years meditating on the concept of that which is prohibited, and that which is permissible is unnecessary. In other words, like that a whole like way that a chassid is supposed to go in the world is very Shammai-like, in the sense that any like problem you can find with the thing is probably a good reason to just leave it alone.
For themselves. Not
For themselves. Okay. I'm just saying it's like sort of a because it's based on the panemius, right? As we're gonna see tomorrow, B'ezrat Hashem. Okay.
Yeah.
Loving it.
That was a good one.
Yeah. Baruch Hashem. This scene is pretty much off the charts, huh?
Yes, so good.